Welcome to Get Into Market for when your job is real, but your role is negotiable. This is a podcast about building products, launching them, and figuring out how to stay useful along the way. I'm Nate. This is John. John, say hello.
Hey, everybody.
We have matching shirts. Yeah, we match shirts every day.
We do.
So what is this podcast? This podcast is John's in product management. I'm in product marketing. What we try to do our every day is trying to make things happen at tech companies when no one's asking for us. We have a lot of teams that we work with that don't care too much for us. At best, we kind of like annoy them. John, I think engineering loves you. Sales definitely loves both of us. We're definitely always keeping pace with what sales wants. And marketing is never like, where's this thing that I asked for? And I think we probably both worked at orgs where our teams, product management, product marketing, don't get along.
Last week, I had a conversation with someone who said, there's nothing that you've thought of that I haven't thought of first. And it was an engineer talking about product management. And I think they may be right. Obviously, we think we're pretty helpful and valuable in what we're doing, but sometimes it's hard across those different departments to know that we're doing anything beneficial.
So, John, before we hit record, you were on a very long rant about how, other than teachers, you could not think of a more overrated, overpaid profession than janitors. And as someone who scrubs the apple on my sleeve before I put it on the teacher's desk, and who is so thankful for a clean bathroom and trash cans that get emptied, and just has deep respect for this very blue collar working profession. A lot of folks don't want to do it. Why do you hate janitors so much, John?
Okay, so before we get too far down the line, I feel like I maybe need to just defend myself a little bit and give a little bit more of the backstory to this idea of janitors versus creators. So it started a few years back, and I was meeting with my boss at the time, and he could probably tell that I was frustrated or disgruntled. And so we were meeting, and I said something like, "Hey, man, I'm just a janitor. I walk around and I see little messes, and little mess here, and I'll clean that up, and a little bit over here, and I'll clean that up." And so I've been thinking about that a lot since then, and I thought, this might be something that other people resonate with, and I'll post something about it. And so I did, and I kind of had that feeling, and I should have listened to it, where as soon as I posted it and I hit send, I thought, damn it, this is going to come back and bite me. And then I've had other conversations and other posts, I suppose, around this same idea. In each one, I try to defend myself. So overall, it's not that I hate janitors. It's not that I hate teachers, although I feel like now I'm going to take some heat for that too. But the overall idea is that for me personally, I really enjoy the creative side.
Yeah.
I really like creating new things. I like building something new. I get a lot more energy for myself out of that part of the process than I do maintaining or really just making small tweaks or small changes along the overall process. So that's what I meant with this whole idea of janitor versus creator. And already I feel like you're going to make fun of me for it, but that's where I started, and that's what this means to me.
Well, one of the reasons I think you catch grief on this is because janitor feels reductive and like you're kind of dismissing the work. Whatever you want to say about the sanitation services as a career, right? It isn't something that typically requires skills or education. And so I think that's one of the reasons kind of why this felt a little controversial when you were discussing it with folks or posted about it. If I think about it, there's a couple things that stick out. One is like janitor's a little reductive. So if I reframed it for you, John, if I framed it as writers versus editors, how'd you feel about that?
You know what? That's actually a little better, and I haven't thought about it like that, but that feels a little bit more of the spirit of what I was thinking about, and I'll try to describe it a little bit. Really, there's a big part of this for me where I get really frustrated when you're ideating with a team or with a group, and the first thing that comes to mind is the reasons why that can't be done. Yeah. And so it's almost like this negative posture and this idea of really just bring everything out on the table and see what happens, see what works, see what sticks, and then try to pare back or try to cut back what won't work or add some practicality. And so there is definitely an element of that writers versus editors, where when a writer first starts their draft, they'll just write anything down. And I'm a big fan of this author. Anne Lamott is her name. She has a book called Birds by Birds that my high school English teacher made us read. Well, she calls it shitty first drafts. And the cool thing about that, or really what I keep coming back to over and over in this, is just get your draft out, just get it there, get that idea on paper, start creating, start maintaining. And it's a little bit of a funny thing in software, and you know this, but really in this whole janitors versus creators or writers versus editors, if you think about the software business that we're in, most of the profit that comes from what we're doing comes in that maintenance stage. It's the longest part of the life cycle of software. It's the longest thing that happens. And so in that secondary stage that I feel like I'm not that good at.
Well, it's not that you're not good at it, it's that you don't like to spend your time on it,
Mm,
right? Like, I think one of the things that maybe got lost in this conversation is the idea that part of being good at either of our jobs is recognizing the situation you're coming into and what role you need to play.
mm,
But being able to recognize, I think, like what the situation is, what's being asked of you as you're coming into this. Are you being asked to create something and build it? Or are you in cleanup mode trying to keep a ship afloat that's sinking? I think those are two scenarios that you can even have in the same role at the same time,
mm.
depending on like what you're covering and what you're managing. Um, and I think there's merit to having a skill set across both of those things. But I think there's a difference between like being good at something and enjoying it, right?
Mm.
So I think part of what you were getting at, that maybe didn't land with people as well, was like it's just what you enjoy is the process that you enjoy more.
Yeah, that's totally true. And it's one of the things that I've really loved about using tools like Lovable and Replit and really just generative AI tools in general. That's a dumb phrase. But anyway, you get what I mean. It just lets me chase these weird ideas that I've got and these different ideas and actually see that product on screen more than just a mock up in a lot of cases. So, one of the other parts that's interesting about this for me, and you and I were having a conversation, and you said something like this, and I've been chewing on it, where as you and I have moved and really moved away from individual contributors and more towards people leadership, there's this idea that your creativity shifts away from building product and more towards building process that your teams can go and work on and do. And do you think that it's the same where there's a creative element, regardless if you're a people leader versus an individual contributor?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That like the creation part, there's more emphasis, more people maybe rely on you to create a process for them, because they don't necessarily want to. Their tasks are not necessarily associated with like the creation part of it. But I will say, like one of the things that I think is attractive to people about product management and product marketing is the idea that you're like an individual contributor who has influence across a lot of different organizations within your broader org, a lot of different teams and work that you're doing cross functionally. And you are not like a people manager, but you are having to like lead initiatives and projects across these groups. And there is a component of that that is definitely like creation. Like you are a cross-functional leader in a lot of ways on initiatives and stuff, but you're not necessarily having to deal with like the super fun parts of people management, like performance reviews and going into whatever your HRM is and approving time off all the time.
Yeah, you're totally right. And people leadership isn't always all roses. And in fact, a lot of the time it's a lot harder. But it reminded me of this experience that I had a while ago where, I mean, just generally, I'm a person who likes to get stuff done. I'm a task list, not go to market, that's this, sorry, getting things done, GTD type person where I just like to go through the things that I have and take care of what I have. And I realized leading a team that it's a lot, you can get a lot more done with a group of people, that a group of people can do more than an individual person every single time, right? And so then it becomes more of this challenge of how do you get a group of people to work together and think together and to get a culture together and almost like the hive mind sort of thing. And that's a really creative process. But you're totally right. Sometimes there's just really hard parts about it. Sometimes there's really boring parts about it, like approving HR and those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, when you get that group together, working in the same direction, moving in the same thing, there's something really sweet about it. And that part is takes a lot of creativity to get that done. And I love that part a lot.
All right. Well, I think we have kind of nailed this topic into the ground pretty solidly.
John hates janitors.
One of the things
is what we
John
just
hates
learned.
janitors. I think if you take nothing else away from this episode, that John looks down on the working man. One of the things that we wanted to do every episode is kind of a segment, and we probably should figure out a way to add a little more structure to this, is like things that we've learned this week. I can go first. I was at SAP Sapphire. One of the things I learned is that you can apparently just rent out Epcot for a night if you are a big enough company willing to write a big enough check. So for their like big send-off celebration, they shut down Epcot for the night, which if you Googled it led to a lot of like very angry Disney blogs being like, why is Epcot closed? Because, there's no shortage of folks that love going to Disney as adults. And then the other thing was SAP's on a real tear, obviously trying to move folks to S4HANA. One of the things that they showed is a business data cloud, which is one of their SaaS services that's been around for a little while. They don't have a ton of customers on it, but what they're going to be able to do with agentic AI, very interesting, I think, for folks in finance and across operations as well. Automating a lot of things that previously took a lot of manual time. It will be interesting because they showed a slide that had best of breed marked out with marker. And I was like, no small portion of this event has been subsidized by best of breed vendors who have sponsored this event. So it's kind of bold to put that in the keynote. But I do think what they're doing with agentic AI removes a lot of things that maybe best of breed vendors have been providing to end users of SAP products for quite a while now. I think adoption will probably be slow, but it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out over the longer term. How about you, John? What do you got?
When you give your kids space to show that they can handle a task, they often step up to the task. When you speak positively, I know you're good at this and you can handle this. And that sounds more aggressive. When you speak positively that you have confidence in their ability to do something, they'll step up to that. And my in-laws are traveling this week, and so we have their dogs, their dachshunds, and I had a fair amount of anxiety about it because one of them is deaf and blind. And so if that dog gets let out or is loose, that dog will die because of where we live. There's just enough stuff. And so I was just really worried about it, but our kids are doing a great job with it. And we just kept on telling them, hey, we know you're really good at this. You're doing a good job. And they've tackled everything, and it's been really great. So there are certainly correlations between what we learn and teach our kids to what we learn at office settings and at work, and thinking like, oh, I have to say that to my team. I think you're good at a thing and you can do that too.
I was actually having a conversation with somebody who has a deaf dog, and they were kind of, I think, anticipating what perhaps might have been offensive questions that I was thinking through in my head. But one of my questions was like, does the dog bark? And is it barking like at the normal volume that a dog that can hear would?
What was their answer?
Yes, it's like a totally normal bark. Yeah, normal volume, everything.
What does that mean about dogs? Do they feel volume? Like if you plug your ears or have AirPods in, you generally know if you're yelling at someone. Dogs must feel the same.
I mean, we put headphones on one of our children, and when they talk to us, they're just yelling. So I don't know.
Yeah. So Nate's kids aren't dogs and John hates janitors. That's what we learned so far this episode.
Good takeaway. Good takeaway. All right. We will be back next week with what I think is going to be a fun episode about offense versus defense. And fun fact, I don't think we agree on this one. But yeah, if you liked this podcast, like and subscribe. That's helpful to us. And we'll see you next week.